going on this playlist with Kev and Shelz? I'm Shelz.
Kev, 8 Count Sports, man. 8 Count Sports. What's going on, bro?
Man, we're here to talk about some crazy news, man. Jon Jones, in a recent interview, when asked if he would ever consider fighting Tom Aspinall after his Stipe fight, he stated that basic flat out, I don't think Aspinall has done enough for me to get into the octagon with him. What do you think about that, Kevin? Haven't done enough. Tom Aspinall hasn't done enough, according to Jon Jones, to fight him.
So before I seen this interview with Kevin Iole, ducking wasn't the first thing that came to mind. Like when he was fighting Stipe, when this match was made between Jon Jones and Stipe, and then it got postponed for the whole year, the term that I keep hearing is ducking. And after this interview and prior to this, it wasn't the first thing that came to mind. After seeing this interview, I kind of feel a little different about it. His reasoning. So he diminished Tom Aspinall's accomplishments, and then started to talk about his legacy fights. Like, these are legacy fights. He's looking for fights to define his legacy. So he brought up Alex Pereira, and he's obviously fighting Stipe. I think fighting Stipe as opposed to Aspinall, that's a contradiction in regards to legacy. I think Stipe, that would have been a legacy defining fight about 5 years ago. This beating Stipe Miocic right now is, what are we gonna say if you beat Stipe? We're gonna say he was washed. He hasn't fought in 3 years. He's 42 years old, and the last time he was in the ring, he was getting knocked out by the guy that we wanted to see you fight a year ago. So all of this is past tense. This is not, it's a catch-22 fight in regards for Jones. This is Stipe fight, and you know what it makes me think as well. It makes me this interview kind of makes me take the onus off of the UFC just a little bit. Like, I understand the UFC gets the last say. Prior to this interview, I thought this was more Dana White and the UFC's doing. After this interview, it occurs to me this is more of a Jon Jones thing. This is him that's pushing for the fight. Like,
what is with Jon Jones and his power over the UFC for him to think that this is just a pattern, bro? Like, if it's true that the UFC has some sort of interest in him fighting Tom Aspinall, and the only thing that's stopping that fight from going through is Jon Jones' refusal to get into the octagon with Tom Aspinall, and the UFC is complying with his refusal and throwing in Stipe instead. This is a part of a long pattern of Jon Jones having his way with the UFC. This is even going back to when we had the picogram incident, and they decided to move the whole. I never seen that in my life. It was like picogram game. You know how they got
Yeah, they moved the whole thing to Cali.
Bro, they moved it to a whole nother state, on a whole nother commission, just to accommodate Jon Jones. And even leading up to this matchup, Dana White going hard for Jon Jones, saying, "Yo, he's the GOAT. You put Jon Jones with any other man in the world, Jon Jones is also gonna walk 100% of the time." I'm trying to understand: is Dana White a fan of MMA, or he's just a fan of Jon Jones? Jon Jones' reasoning for wanting to fight Stipe instead of Tom Aspinall, it looks good on paper. An
old sheet of paper.
It just looks good on paper. We made a good point. We said how basically if Jon Jones defeats Tom Aspinall, he's gonna have way more to gain to his legacy as opposed to if he fights Stipe. Because you're right, the reaction would be, oh, but Stipe was washed up. Stipe wasn't in octagon. There'll be things that we could put on his age, ring rust, that knockout he suffered from Ngannou, who's the guy that we really want Jon Jones to fight. As opposed to Tom Aspinall, you beat the young up and coming dude who we always assured was gonna beat you. Because Jon Jones even brought up when he's giving out his reason as to why he wanted to fight Tom Aspinall, saying that Tom Aspinall didn't do enough. You're right. Let me just put this out there. You're right. The guy who's now the interim heavyweight champ didn't do enough, but whatever. but still, Gon did enough though. But anyhow, when he said that he brought the example of my boy Johnny Walker, and I was a victim. I was a victim of this too. I was one of the guys who said like, "Yo, this is the guy that's gonna solve the Jon Jones puzzle." And yes, I was proven wrong. Not even before my man Johnny even got to the even had an opportunity to get into the octagon with Jon Jones.
Every time. To cut you off real quick, every time he steps in the ring, he proving you wrong. Go ahead. A repeated reminder, bro.
Every time I see it, that's all I think. I'm like, damn, this is the guy I thought was gonna knock out Jon Jones. That's all I think about. So he brings up that example, which is like, bruh, slow down. Johnny Walker was not the interim champ when we all thought he was gonna beat you. Johnny Walker was not going through the murderous row of his division when we thought he was going to beat you. Tom Aspinall is the interim champ. Tom Aspinall has been knocking out these dudes left and right. Like,
beat half the top 10. More than half of the top 10 right now. He beat all.
That's what, think about it. He beat like five. Like, think about it. He's in the top 10, right? So when you take him out the top 10, there's only 9 of them, and he knocked out 5 of them. It's like he's selling us snake oil. Like he's trying to spin like that little comment. You remember Johnny Walker? Like, bruh, that sounds good when you first say. But when you sit down and think about it for like 2 seconds, you're like, come on, bro. That's a horrible example. It's like none of the points he's making is making any sort of actual sense, bro. It's not making any sort of actual sense. Like I said, it just sounds good on paper. It just sounds good. It's like you're reading a contract and it's fine print. He's saying all the bold things that you want to hear. It's that fine print, bro. It's like, bro, come on, John.